Hey, you have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Very excited to have on the director of franchise development, as well as a 10-year plus franchisee of Caring Senior Services. Today we have Scott Suryan, who's the director of franchise development at Caring Senior Service, as well as Ken Anderson, who's owned a Caring Senior Service franchise for about 10 years. And he actually started at the corporate side in Huntsville, Alabama, as an intern. So we'll hear all about Scott's path in franchising in the multi-unit space, and then going to the franchise development area, as well as Ken's transition from working at the franchisor to owning his own franchisee, as well as information on the home care industry, and also what the franchise costs if you're considering investing in a caring senior service, and get into all those details today. So first off, I really appreciate both you guys joining.
Thank you. Glad to be
Appreciate
here.
it, Patrick.
And maybe, Scott, we start with you. How did you get into franchising? I understand you've been a multi-unit operator of 3+ brands.
Yeah. So for me, I knew out of college I always wanted to own my own business, but I didn't know what it was going to be. I came from a military background. My dad was career military, 30+ years, and I work well within systems. Love sales, love the interaction with people. But again, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew one thing, that I wasn't smart enough to come up with the next greatest widget, but I could follow systems. So my very first franchise was a 7-Eleven, right about 2.5 years out of college, maybe 3 years out of college, from Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And it literally was the 7-Eleven I used to go to when I was in college to buy all my college needs, if you will. And so anyway, one became two. We were slow in the summertime. I didn't want to micromanage my people. So then I picked up another brand by the name of Maui Wowie, which focused on smoothies and coffees. Picked up another brand called Doc Popcorn, and we did a ton of events. And I figured it was just going to be a summer thing. And then when the 7-Elevens picked up when school started, I would go back to 7-Elevens and we'd shut down the summertime event business. But the event business really grew. So we went from one cart to 7 in a matter of about 8 months. And we did everything from NASCAR races to high school sporting events and major cheer competitions, things like that. So we actually became busier in the winter than we were in the summertime because everyone wanted to get a fun umbrella drink with a tiki hut, right? So that's what we did. And after that, my wife and I made the decision that, hey, if I start missing things with at that point, our daughter, she was born in 2004. If I started missing some things, then I was going to get off the road and do something that was more focused on, things closer to home. And we had the opportunity to get into Tim Hortons. And we sold the 7-Elevens. We kept the event business, and we went full bore into Tim Hortons. And then we sold our Tim Hortons back in 2020, right before the COVID lockdown. But by then we'd had systems in place, and I had taken what I'd learned in the franchisee side of all the businesses, along with my sales skills, and decided to go work for franchisors. And the first one I went to was Pet Supplies Plus. Fantastic company. They're the largest pet retail franchise in the country.
Yeah, we just did an analysis on their brand. It's pretty profitable business.
Yeah.
It seems like it's well suited.
Yeah,
to grow.
it's crazy.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
It's a different price category.
Margins are not super high, but it is what it is, right? People still want to socialize their pets, and they need a place to go. And location is everything. And if you've got something that makes the customer want to come back, if it's really sticky, then you've got a gold mine. And then last but not least, I got recruited out of Pet Supplies Plus to come to Caring Senior Service, where I met Ken and the rest of the franchisees. Really passionate about the industry, really passionate about the segment of the industry that we focus on, which is non-medical home care for seniors, and glad to be here.
And Ken, was this your first internship? Had you worked anywhere else before joining the Caring Senior Service team?
No, I had not been in home health prior to joining Caring Senior Service. So I was lucky to be a part of a team that was able to have things in place. As Scott was saying, there's a blueprint that's in place that is easy to follow. So for someone stepping into the industry who had never done home health, it was a blessing to have that example, and then to have so many individuals who had followed that example made a lot of it easier for me. So it's just kind of worked out, everything that I was able to get exposed to.
And your location in Mississippi that you currently own and operate, was that an existing location that you took over from a franchisee, or did you start that from scratch?
So in coming to Mississippi was a bootstraps, let's get in there, figure it out, follow the blueprint. No clients, no referral sources, but follow the blueprint. And so to answer the question, they were completely blown away when I got here and said, "Hey, I'm Ken with Caring Senior Service. Let's get this done." Yeah, everything was brand new.
And what was the scale up like? Like, how long did it take to open the business, break even, and then start actually making some money to provide for your family?
Yeah. So everything depends on your work ethic. And, it comes down to just consistency. And when you get the consistency going, I would say with a strong, consistent work ethic, it would take about 6 months to get things going, to get some profit, get things at a place where you've seen several people, 5 to 6 times, and you're branded. And I don't take it for granted because there are times where it's a struggle to get in places. But if you just continue with that consistency, it works.
So the key, you say, consistency and following the blueprint. I've heard that a few times now with you, as well as just franchising in general. And it seems like the franchisees that excel and are able to have a franchise location for 10 plus years are really following those two things.
Yeah, I like the term excel. I wasn't going to use that term, but I like it because I do remember where I was when I first started. And so I'm definitely in a better place.
And what's your organization look like now? Like, how many employees do you have? Do you have managers?
Yeah. So now I have a agency director. I have 2 care managers. And when it comes to the staff, it's so key to have a strong staff, because with that strong staff, and I have a good staff, but with that strong staff, we're able to combat retention. Healthcare itself has high turnover, no matter what branch of healthcare you're in. And so we're in a field where it's no different. We have turnover with our nurses, with our caregivers. So with that nucleus staff in place, we're able to help keep our good caregivers, help combat retention, and it makes it a little bit easier to keep about 35 to 40 nurses on staff. And that's about what we're working with right now.
Solid. And Scott, I'm sure you hear the fears as I'm talking to prospective franchisees, potential business owners that are looking to enter in franchising overall. Everyone's worried about, like, how do I hire people? What are some ways that Caring Senior Service helps from the corporate side to basically get the caregivers hired and help with the retention so they stay on for a while?
Sure, that's a great question. So we recognize that in this industry, and a lot of others too, but specifically in this industry, and I'm sure Ken would agree with me, that it's all about building the relationships at the referral source where you get the client referrals from, but also too the caregivers themselves, right? So we want to create an atmosphere where a lot of the heavy lifting is put on the franchisor. So we're going to help do those initial interviews through part of our company, which is called Hub Services. So we'll work with the franchisee in their market with social media posts, with Indeed. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to create the job application, and then we're going to do the initial vetting of the prospective caregivers. So literally what's going to happen is that while Ken's in the field, potentially talking to referrals or onboarding clients.
You want Ken selling, and then managing the
exactly. So we're doing that work internally for the franchisee, and we're vetting them through. So we're getting that first interview out of the way, and then we're automatically going to send those hot leads, if you will, for caregivers, and send them to Ken and say, Ken, look, we think we have someone that would be a great fit for a caregiver in your agency. Talk to them, because time kills deals, right? So if we don't strike while the iron is hot, we potentially could lose that caregiver for Ken. And again, it's the chicken or the egg, right? What comes first? You always need a bunch of caregivers, because you're always going to have a bunch of clients as well, too, right? So you got to.
Yeah. What's the hardest, Ken? What do you see as the hardest part? Like, is it finding the new clients, or getting the right staff, like to show up for the job, and getting that staff initially?
Yeah, of course, we were providing a service, and when providing a service, people want that service how they want that service, and it takes a good service member or caregiver to go in there and relay what, or be an extension of what our primary goal is. So it's the challenge for us is finding that service member, that good caregiver, that person that's dedicated to home health and healthcare and dedicated to helping someone, to go in and say, listen, this is a difficult situation, but I'm going to find a way to get you some help and make sure I'm leaving here with a positive impact. And so that's the challenge. But, when we do find those individuals, as Scott was saying, there's benefits to help keep that person. And there's some ways that we're working to keep them.
Absolutely.
And Scott, I mean, you mentioned a bunch of brands when we first started our conversation today: Tim Hortons, 7-Eleven, Pet Supply Plus. Correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't heard of those franchisors helping with the recruitment to the extent that you guys do,
Well,
or other franchisors for that matter, where they're doing like that first initial vetting of the candidate.
yeah, I can't speak for Timmy's anymore, because I'm not a franchisee, and I've been out since 2020. Sure. And Pet Supplies Plus, I was on the franchisor side, not the franchisee side. But I mean, we're very committed, knowing that one of the biggest pain points for our franchisees in this industry is literally finding the best help out there. So we don't want someone that's just going to, be able to breathe and walk and chew gum at the same time. We need to find people that best represent the Caring Senior Service brand when they're out in the field talking to their clients on a regular basis. We need to build those relationships. If I have someone that needs, I'm making this up, but needs a Spanish speaking caregiver, well, I got to make sure I give them a Spanish speaking caregiver, right? So every client has unique needs, wants, and desires. Ken, along with all the other franchisees, need to find those people. We're here to help. And that's how we really do it. We really want to, and I keep saying this, do the heavy lifting so that Ken and the franchisees can work on creating those client relationships and those referral relationships.
And who kind of makes the most successful franchisees? Is there a type of personality or career trajectory that they've had that the top performing franchisees kind of share?
That's a really great question. Again, a lot of folks think you need to have a healthcare background to be a great franchisee with Caring Senior Service, and the answer is you don't. I mean, you really don't. The ideal franchise candidate for us, and Ken can correct me, because obviously he lives it and breathes it every day. Yeah. I need someone that's going to follow the path, right? To work through the system. Don't overthink it. Don't go outside the system. Work within the system. We've been doing it for over 30 years. Trust us to be able to provide you the information you need to be successful. Number two, I need someone that's got the ability to present to groups, that's well-spoken, that knows how to command a room. They don't need to be the greatest at that, but they need to be really solid at it. Also, someone that has the desire to make a difference. And I think that is the biggest thing in general, right? Because for a lot of folks, this is going to be a passion. We are true believers that if you follow the system and build the model, the money will come. It is not a license to print money. And Ken can attest, I'm sure, it's hard work. So if your idea of grabbing a check from the mailbox every couple of weeks is a way to make money, and there are franchises out there that you can do that with, that's great, but that's not Caring Senior Service. We want our franchisees to be dedicated to the business. They can be semi-absentee, but they need to be dedicated to the business. They need to have the right people in place. But also, too, I need someone that's got a passion, right? For a lot of folks, like you mentioned earlier, this is a second career. They've made a lot of money in their first career. Now this is giving back to the greater good of society with helping out with senior citizens. Also, Um, we've got folks that are previous teachers or C-suite people. I mean, it's super diverse with the franchisee base. Heck, we have someone that was in software design that just signed up. We have a CFO that just signed up that used to be part of and in the fashion industry. So there's a lot of different folks. It just, those few things that I talked about are the ones that really just check all the boxes for us and do a great job.
That's well said. And then Scott, for the semi-absentee model, could someone right away go in and work just 10, 20 hours a week? Or do they have to scale up to that period?
So,
how does that work? If you can explain the semi-absentee
so
nature of
I
this?
think from our standpoint, and Ken can give his opinion on it too, with the semi-absentee model, you need to have the right people in place that are going to be the three main employees of the agency. Ken mentioned a home care consultant, which is the person that goes out and sells. We have a care manager, which manages and schedules the staff, the caregivers that go out to the clients, and then the agency director. If you have those three people in place and you want to scale the business, you're going to have to be semi-absentee because you're going to be going to multiple locations as you grow the business. So yes, you can be semi-absentee. You've got to have those right people in place. But I think
from day one, is it feasible, or is it more of like after 3 years you can then decide to take a step back or continue opening?
I don't think it's day one unless you've really got a core group that is ready to go. And you've got this
probably capital.
Well, as I say, you've got the financial wherewithal to do that too. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing would be, I don't think it's as far out as 3 years because we have folks scaling up within 12 months to go to, territory number 2, territory number 3. So they're going to, the laws of physics kick in and you can't be in 2 places at once. So they're going to be semi-absentee just by that. But the really cool testament to our ability to have semi-absentee is that we have franchisees that have multiple locations in multiple states. So I have a franchisee that's in Texas as well as Illinois. I have a franchisee that's in Illinois, Texas, and is also looking to go potentially to Florida or someplace else on the East Coast. So you can do it semi-absentee, but you've got to follow the rules and you've got to have the right people in place.
That's well said. So you probably have like one key employee on the ground in Florida, even though you live, 2,000 miles away.
Well, those same 3 employees are the core for each agency location.
Oh, okay.
So yes. You're going to wash, rinse, repeat. Yep. You're going to wash, rinse, repeat for every single agency. You're literally going to duplicate efforts over and over and over and over again.
And how are the franchisees composed? Like, what percent just have one territory that they're focused on, as opposed to other ones that have multiple territories and they're really in continuous growth mode?
Right. So I think that a vast majority, and I don't have a percentage, but I'm pretty sure the vast majority of our franchisees are single unit owners, and it's not for a lack of effort by any stretch of the imagination. They've just found the ability to scale out in their territory to the point where they're doing very well with one location. And you can definitely do that. I mean, you control the billing, you control the client intake, you control all the variables in order to be successful. So if you have a large enough territory and you really go to every corner or every different revenue stream you can find, you could be very successful with just one territory. And we're not just going to give you a territory and say, like it or leave it. We're going to work with you to really define and shape your territory so you can have, multiple revenue streams. You can really expand in that one territory and make a good living.
Ken, how is it for you? Do you currently have just one territory, or are you also in adjacent areas?
Yeah. So I do have one territory. However, we're getting, with the information that we're putting out there, with the marketing efforts, we're getting requests from territories that are further out. In other words, the expansion of this. I love the idea of increasing territories, but because of the marketing efforts, more and more people are hearing about us outside of this territory, and we're looking and finding caregivers close to where they are. So it's safe to say that, I may have a client that's about 2 hours away from me, and it's not unheard of. So, like Scott was saying, you could run it you can not be in that state.
It's
It's
flexible.
very flexible. Yeah, you don't have to be right underneath your office at all times or right over your office at all times. It's very flexible.
And that's a beauty, like, as opposed to some of the other industries that Scott was in, where quick service restaurants, QSR, or in the pet grooming, pet supply space, location's everything,
Yep.
where you can't be that adaptable
Yeah.
like Ken's businesses in Mississippi, where you can service someone that's an hour or 2 hours
Mhm.
away.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Scott, it's the numbers have probably changed since Ken started his business in Mississippi. But how much does it cost right now if you wanted to open up a carrying senior service franchise?
So there's a range, and that's part of our FDD. But the range is on the low end about 110,000, and on the high end about 170, and that's all inclusive. That includes the franchise fee of 45,000. That includes 6 months of working capital as well that we've baked into the equation. So yeah, all in on the high end about 170, and maybe it's a little less expensive in Mississippi or Iowa, and it's a little more expensive in like Boston, Massachusetts. So just to give you an idea, but that's the range between 110 and 170.
That's great. And I like that you bake in 6 months as opposed to 2 or 3 months, which a lot of other franchisors do, including in your space, because it could take 6 months or maybe a little longer to make that break even point.
Yeah, and it's all and Ken mentioned this earlier. It's all about billables, right? It's you set the price based on your market. You set the price that you pay your caregivers, your hourly billing rate. There's a lot of different things that go into it. So yeah, you can be super aggressive or you can be a little bit less aggressive depending on your competition in that space. And we help you with that as well too.
And anything you can share in terms of like how much the franchisees make, or basically how much you could expect to make, or based on the historics for carrying senior service franchisees?
I can't go into specifics, but I can talk a little bit about margins potentially. So,
Sure, that'd be great.
gross margins are probably depending on how your mix is with billing and things of that nature. A vast majority of our clients do private pay. We do third party pay, but a vast majority are private pay. So we get that cash flow rolling in every 2 weeks,
Nice.
which is
Yeah.
nice. So we're not waiting 30, 60, 90 days to get paid by an insurer. Although we'll gladly take insurance payments. We'll gladly work with the VA. We have great regional and national alliances that are like that. But margins can be anywhere between, low 20s to maybe low 40s. It depends on each one, where you're getting the vast majority of your revenue from. Nets are probably low teens to low 20s. So not
Oh,
not bad. I mean, quite honestly. So and again, you can set your rates and go from there. But I can't get into the specifics because of legalities, but that's an idea.
yeah. I guess the key for someone that's serious about carrying senior service, speak to Scott first, your team, and then they'll have validation calls with
Oh,
franchisees like
absolutely.
Ken
Yeah.
and
Ken
other
and,
folks
and
to
any we're an open
understand
book.
the
Yeah. Anybody
financials.
will validate for sure. Absolutely.
Cool. And then Ken, how has it been like passing the costs on to the consumer, to your customer? Like, say if the salaries for pay givers go up 10%, 20%, is it a really difficult conversation to have, or are there tactics to kind of pass that cost along to keep the gross profit margin high?
Yeah, we do more of a warm uh, explanation of what we are having to do. And a lot of times that explanation starts off with just a simple letter to our clients, letting them know that this is what we are into, and that is great care. And because we're into great care and great customer service and providing you with a qualified individual, we're having to do things to make sure that you're getting what you're needing and what you're asking for. And so those letters that we send out to those clients gives them an idea of what's going on. We give them a little bit of time as far as, hey, next month or the next couple of weeks, this is what's going to take place. Just be prepared. So it's already in place. The wording, the information, it's just about giving that soft informational to that client, and it's been perceived well, especially with the needs that are going on during this time.
Is the pricing, are you guys priced as kind of like a premium service in the home caregiver space, or how would you kind of say where you are positioned?
Yeah. So I would say, after doing what I would consider looking at the competition in the area, looking at just this particular area, I know that if I got outside of my particular state, I would find that we are nowhere near the high end. But I would also
Okay.
find too that we're not the lowest. So we're right in probably that middle point of
Nice.
charge
And there's a
in,
huge market there
yeah,
where
within
if you
this
were
state.
just high end, like
Yeah,
it'd be pretty small pool. And then if you
yeah,
were low end, you're probably dealing with cash flow issues, not
yeah.
getting paid for 60 or 90 days plus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we make our rates based on this location, this particular state, because I know if I was to get out into some of the other states and some of the bigger markets, I know the cost would be a little bit different. So
And then Ken, how has your business shifted during COVID? Has it been like a net positive on your business financials and performance, or has it been negative and really, really tough?
that's a good question. I was worried that we were going to have some type of drop, some major drop, and that's what I kept looking for. Where's the drop? Where's the drop? But what I
Yeah.
found was that the need was even greater, and we just had to tweak how we were providing that need. And what I mean by tweaking it is, there were certain people we needed to have on standby. There were certain protective equipment we needed to always be or have our hands on. We had to in I guess we had to adopt how caregivers are checking into the home every day, screenings, and our system allows for specific screenings every day that the caregiver is going to a client's home. We had to communicate those things, so we just had to, just like any business trying to stay afloat and trying to go against the grain when it comes to changes in economies, we had to figure out how to maintain, because the need became even greater. People needed more help. No one wanted to go to different homes, even family members, as you guys are aware.
Exactly. I
There were
remember for a few
parents saying,
months,
yeah, there were
people thought I
parents.
was crazy meeting up with my brother and dad.
Yeah, yeah. Leave the groceries at the door, right? So there was a lot of need because people had to distance themselves, and it just worked in our favor. So I didn't come up against a drop in our numbers. I found that
Did the
we built.
franchisee community help you kind of get through it, or the franchisor from the corporate side?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Matter of fact, we did something, and I've been with the company long enough to um, know that we've had several meetings throughout the years. But Scott will tell you, for the first time, we were having meetings every week, and we were
That's
not just
great.
talking. Yeah, we were having some, like, the owners. There was a time when I would talk with owners almost, maybe two or three every year until we get to the owners conference. Well, during COVID season, all the owners had the opportunity to speak every week, which was very unique. How many franchises out there are getting all their owners together every week to discuss what we have to do to make this work? And that's what we did during COVID season.
That's wild because there's so much shared learnings and like best practices when you have those repetitions, because you're managing 35, 40 employees. They have all these caregivers, there's another 50 plus folks like your profile across the country that are all having similar issues.
Yeah,
So it's great that you're facilitating that.
yeah,
And I'm sure like every minute that you're having those calls, like there's a nice value
yeah.
for your business there.
Definitely. So true. So true. Yeah. And it's just a wealth of information to have other franchisees talk about what they're going through, what they're having to do. Everything was so, it was like talking with someone that was working in your office, because you're dealing with similar things. I was like, they're doing that too, or they're having to get over that objection or get over that struggle. So you hear about, the different mentalities and the different takes, and people come with different point of views, but it's so helpful. And so that's something that I was very impressed with during COVID season. And I was blown away with the idea of doing it, realized how much it was beneficial. Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, it seems like the franchisors that did really the franchise systems that really excelled and grew during the pandemic were the ones that were communicating a lot and had systems to communicate and then adapt
Yeah.
to how the market was changing.
Yep.
So it clearly seems like Carrying Senior Service was in that camp. Scott and Ken, do you have any concluding thoughts? We'll be sure to leave Scott's contact for those that are interested in potentially exploring a Carrying Senior Service franchise. But I'm curious to hear from you two. Any thoughts for someone that's looking to get into franchise or entering the home care space?
Ken, you want to go first?
Wow, it's the obvious thought, and that is this industry is going to continue to have this high need for several years to come. And for individuals that want to have, and Scott mentioned this at the very beginning, ownership. If you're thinking ownership, I thought it, I had that mentality, ownership. And for me, that was the initial step. Do I want to have ownership of the company? So if that's already been embedded in your thoughts, the next thought is there a need for what you're trying to own? This industry is a high need. And so I would definitely consider pursuing and doing your due diligence, looking into where you would like to set up an office, where you would like to work, and just be prepared to put in that work ethic, and a reasonable work ethic, consistent, is what it's going to take. And the doors are wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that, Ken.
I think to echo Ken, if we've still got a couple seconds, I've owned franchises for over 2 decades, and every time that I went with a franchise and signed the paperwork and gave my hard-earned cash to the franchisor, the proverbial light bulb clicked on over my head, and I said, I get it. It makes sense. I want to be part of this. I can see myself doing this franchise for more than 30 seconds. That's got to happen, whether it's with our industry, QSR, the pet space, it doesn't matter. The light bulb's got to click on over your head. Don't do it because you can make a lot of money. Do it because it makes sense to you and what you want out of your life going forward. And I would say once you're in the due diligence process, trying to vet through your different franchise options, really, really embrace the process of that due diligence and learning everything about that franchise, because they're going to be your partners for the next 10 years. And you got to be prepared to be in that long-term relationship, right? And then I would say for us specifically, we are roll up your sleeves, get to work, blue-collar mentality. We work hard, we stay humble. We know that there's a need for the care of the seniors to live and age gracefully in their own homes and not in assisted living facilities. We're there just as much for the family as we are for the client. And at the end of the day, what we're looking for is a person that shares our commitment to this demographic and wants to succeed with a company that knows it's not going to be the Coke or Pepsi of its industry. We don't need to be the biggest. We just need to be the best. And we can show you that through the track record of having a CEO and a founder that's been with the company for well over 30 years when he started it when he was 20. We have our own proprietary software platform that he created and built for our company. Ken mentioned great care, which is something that we believe and live by every step of the way. And it's proof in the pudding in the respect that our CEO and founder actually has 5 franchises within our system. And I don't know anybody else in any C-suite in any industry in franchising that actually owns and operates their own franchises within that family. And then last but not least, everybody within the company, at least most people that I know of, have had a personal experience with a loved one, a family member that needs this type of service. I speak from personal experience with my family. I'm sure Ken has family members that have had to go through this too. And there are a lot of people out there that say they can do what we need them to do, but there's really not enough attention made to creating that relationship with the client. And I think that's where we're head and shoulders above all the competition out there. So that's my shameless plug for Carrying Senior Service.
No, thanks, Scott. I just have one follow-up question. Are there what are like the most important things that you need to vet before you move forward with a franchise, and hopefully the light bulb went off and you're all in?
Yeah, I mean, for me, quite honestly, it's, you know, is it a profitable business? Does it make financial sense to put the money to work? You want an ROI. This is no different than investing in yourself. You're just doing over a longer term horizon. And then, you know, how dedicated is the company that you're going to partner with? How dedicated are they to your success going forward? Everyone gives great lip service. Everyone talks the talk. But at the end of the day, will they be by your side? If Ken has an issue, how quickly will his franchisor come and help him out? In our case, it's instantaneous. He can pick up the phone and call the CEO. He has that individual's number. We believe that much in the system. If you have a lot of folks that are, you know, at 30,000 foot and don't get into the nitty gritty, I'd be a little concerned. And then last but not least, validate with the franchisees that are already in the system, not just the ones they give you, but literally ask for, and it's in the back of every FDD or should be, start talking to those people and have those blunt conversations about how much money do you put in your back pocket? What are the margins like? How is the franchisor with helping you out and adapting to the needs, wants, and desires of you? Or in Ken's case, when we talked about COVID, you know, pivoting on what we need to do with policies and procedures, as simple things like going into a client's home that's already immune compromised. So you need to see that investment is made at the franchisor level. You need to see how it comes across to you. And really, you know, is your money gonna appreciate? Is the business going to appreciate? Because eventually one day you're going to pass it on to a family member or you're going to sell it, and you want to make more than you paid.
What's the return on?
Exactly.
Yeah, what's the return on that?
Exactly.
That's good.
It's a big thing that we're doing at Vetted Biz, where it's like, if you invest $150K, are you going to sell it for $100K?
Right.
Or are you going to sell it for $400K?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to know, like, it's not that hard to calculate these things. And it's a big thing that everyone should think about before they move forward with any franchise.
Yeah, that's good, Scott. Yeah, I remember. I can't help but just think back to that very moment when I knew I was going to be signing on the dotted line, and some of the things that popped up in my mind was this location really mattered to me. It was a big deal for me. Location was huge for me. But the other thing is, you know, when you're signing up for something, you want to understand what you're signing up for, no matter what it is. I'm signing up to get a car, if I'm signing up to own a home. What am I paying for? What am I getting involved in? And Scott hinted around making sure that the team that you're working with is going to support you. But take a look at the plan that they have in place, and the plan that Caring Service had in place. I bought into it early after looking at it, after hearing about it, after being taught, or not taught, but talked through as far as what that plan looks like. Make sure that plan that you are purchasing and buying into is a plan that you would, rain or sleet, snow, we're going to stick to this plan. And I found that I bought into that plan really early on. And so those are two things that stood out for me: the location and buying into that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really well said. Yeah, location, buying into the plan. On Scott's side, talking to not just the franchisees the franchisor puts you into contact with, but as many as possible. All big things that can help ensure that the franchisee is going to be happy for years to come, and can go on to the next generation or sell the business for a nice profit when the time's right. Scott and Ken, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks again.
No problem. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you for having us, Patrick.